Chapter 316 One Man Team. The unbreakable Douluo's eyes lit up. This young man is smart indeed. As a Soul Engineer, the most important thing was to use his own advantages to attack his opponent's weaknesses. The rules of the tournament set by the Sun Moon Empire were already in favor of Soul Engineers. Taking advantage of them wisely was crucial. Lu Jun had evidently planned this out beforehand. After he jumped up, he used all his strength. In the process, the flying type Soul Tool was already ready. When he jumped up, there was a single moment's pause. Wang Qiu was fast, no doubt. However, no matter how fast she was, she had to cross a distance of 100 meters. When she reached him, Lu Jun was already 20 meters above the ground. This was already beyond Wang Qiu's close combat radius. However, Wang Qiu was no pushover, and she did not lack battle experience. She rushed forward, touched the ground, bent her knees, and in the next instant, everyone heard a boom from the ground. A hole about 2 meters wide appeared, and her body was like a golden cannon shell as it shot into the air after Lu Jun. She gripped her golden dragon spear. With her speed, it would not be difficult for her to catch up to him. At this moment, one could clearly see the counter strategy the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy had prepared for Wang Qiu. As he noticed that Wang Qiu was about to catch up, Lu Jun, who was in midair, activated his invincible barrier. When Wang Qiu went up against the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, she was able to score victory after victory. However, in her fight against Ding Xiaobu, she was bogged down. This served as an inspiration for the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy, if not for Ding Xiaobu's cowardice, he would definitely have been able to wear Wang Qiu down. Wang Qiu's face was cold, and she caught up to Lu Jun in midair quickly. In terms of explosive speed, even a flying type Soul Tool could not compare with her. Even a high-class flying type Soul Tool needed time to charge up and release its power. However, Wang Qiu's body had no such needs. Lu Jun was very calm. He even smiled at Wang Qiu, who was approaching him, behaving as gentlemanly as he could. Wang Qiu's face was emotionless. In the next instant, she reached Lu Jun's altitude. While he looked on in shock, she did not attack his invincible barrier. After she passed him, she instead landed on Lu Jun's invincible barrier with one foot, directly on his head. Who knew that Wang Qiu would use this method to counter Lu Jun's counter strategy? The round right now looked extremely weird to everyone. Lu Jun was using his flying type Soul Tool and carrying Wang Qiu higher into the sky. After a moment of shock, Lu Jun started to react. He tried to shake his body as he sought to throw Wang Qiu off as fast as he could. However, just as he was about to use his strength, a powerful energy came from the top of his head. The flying type Soul Tool behind his back started to wind ladder and ladder, and he found that could no longer ascend any higher into the sky. The invincible barrier was not all-purpose. It could prevent its user from being struck, but it could not let him do whatever he wanted. At this moment, Wang Qiu was like a proud, golden statue as she stood on top of the invincible barrier. She suddenly exerted a powerful pressure that Lu Jun's class 6 flying type Soul Tool could no longer take. His body stopped its upward flight, and then it started to drop down. Lu Jun tried to change his direction of flight. However, he was helpless in face of the immense pressure from above. If he tried to continue upward, he would be forced back to the ground by Wang Qiu. Flying horizontally was out of the question too. His well-designed plan had been ruined by his opponent. Lu Jun, who had been brimming with confidence a moment ago, started to sweat. The invincible barrier had a time limit. Furthermore, he had used a rather ordinary invincible barrier, which could only last for around 7 seconds. From his perspective, he had 7 seconds of buffer time, which was enough for him to escape her pursuit. Then, he could exert pressure on Wang Qiu until he beat her. Who knew that Wang Qiu would start off using this method to fight him? Lu Jun was an elite from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy. He flicked his hands, and 2 soul cannons appeared on his shoulders. This time, he had no choice but to go on the offensive. The 2 rapid-fire soul cannons on his hands started to pound Wang Qiu. Golden scales instantly covered her entire body, and a golden dragon started to swirl around Wang Qiu. She released her golden dragon body. The rapid-fire soul cannon's main strength lay in how fast it could shoot. It was able to cover a wide area, or lay down suppressive fire on a particular foe. Each of its shots was about the size of an egg. However, when they landed on Wang Qiu's body, it was like they had hit a steel wall. There was no way they were hurting her at all. In the absence of Soul Tools, Wang Qiu's defenses were no weaker than a defensive type Soul Master. Many people had forgotten about this, including Hu Yuao. This was because her offensive powers were too strong and too eye-catching. Wang Qiu's golden dragon spear shone with layers of golden light as it blocked many of the shots that were fired at her. The remaining ones that hit her were unable to hurt her. At the same time, Wang Qiu applied force to her legs as she exerted even more pressure downward. Lu Jun wanted to use his flying type Soul Tool to control his descent, and hence, he had to expend soul power. While he was naturally gifted and able to make class 6 Soul Tools, he was still just a 5-ring Soul King. He could not use his class 6 Soul Tools while experiencing such a depletion in his soul power. A thought flashed past Lu Jun's mind, and he immediately stopped firing. He retrieved an odd-looking Soul Tool from his storage type Soul Tool. This appeared to be a Soul Tool that resembled a basin, and the bottom of this basin-like Soul Tool was rather thick. The sides of the basin arched up and curved outward. Lu Jun tore his shirt open to reveal a tight-fitting singlet underneath. His singlet was filled with different types of metal. No one knew how he did it, but the black basin suddenly attached itself to his chest. With that, a ray of white lightning shot out from his chest. It teleported him at the speed of lightning through the air. This explosive power was strong indeed. When it was released, a layer of armor covered Lu Jun's body. Furthermore, he still had his invincible barrier, which buffeted him against the shockwave in midair. While Wang Qiu was able to stand in a stable fashion before, she was sent flying at this moment. Lu Jun's speed was too fast, and he smashed forcefully against the protective barrier around the arena. However, if not for this shocking energy, there was no way he could have escaped Wang Qiu just now. There was a loud bang as Wang Qiu landed on the ground. With the energy she had just released, she caused dust and dirt to fly about the moment she hit the ground. The hearts of the officials organizing the competition skipped a beat. Why is it that whenever this girl appears, the arena is quickly damaged? We need to reinforce it. Again, Lu Jun was sent into a daze too. However, as his body bounced back, he had already removed his invincible barrier. While he still had about a second of it left, he did not want to waste any more soul power on it. At this moment, his shirt was already drenched in cold sweat. When he was spectating, he had thought that everyone who Wang Qiu had defeated simply did not do enough. However, now that he was the one facing the top female competitor in the tournament, he understood the immense pressure they were under. He finally understood why Ding Xiaobu admitted defeat just as Wang Qiu was about to use her 6th soul skill. What immense pressure he must have faced. While he was rattled, he did not dare to slow down. As his flying type Soul Tool was protected by the invincible barrier, it was not destroyed. At this moment, he hurriedly used it to gain altitude again. The only thing he should be doing was creating distance. However, at this moment, Lu Jun suddenly felt his body turn cold. This was because he saw that Wang Qiu, who was stuck in the ground thanks to the force of her impact, was staring at him coldly. Her hand made a throwing motion. The long and sharp golden dragon spear was sent flying straight for him. Lu Jun inhaled to calm himself before he acted. On his back and chest, a ray of light started to shine instantly. The light behind his back pushed him forward, and then he adjusted the wings of his flying type Soul Tool. This caused him to fly diagonally upward, as if he were a plane taking off. The light in front of his chest started to shine even brighter. It came from the basin-like Soul Tool which he had previously used to escape Wang Qiu's control. The ray of light went straight for her. This time, everyone could clearly see that it was a ray of white electric light about as thick as a pail. It was charged with electricity and extremely fast. However, it was constrained by distance, and could only reach a target 10 meters ahead of him. Lu Jun's mastery of distance was perfect. He only unleashed this light when he was in front of Wang Qiu. Boom! The ground shook. This was because the ground of the arena was covered with huge metal plates. When the thick electric light hit it, snake-like jolts of electricity spread everywhere, even out to the edge of the arena. Lu Jun also used this powerful energy to bounce back into the sky. This blow was both offensive and defensive. Lu Jun's specialty was that he firmly believed in one ideal, and that was that if he wanted to defeat Wang Qiu or drain her as much as he could, he had to create as much distance from her as possible. He had made the Soul Tool on his chest. It was called the Lightning Cannon. While it was classified as a class 6 Soul Tool, its power within 10 meters was equivalent to that of a class 7 Soul Tool. However, this kind of Soul Tool had its own glaring weaknesses. It had a strong recoil, and this recoil could not be compensated normally, or the power of the cannon would drop greatly. After many painful experiences, Lu Jun was able to craft it into its current shape. While he was able to retain its power in this form, he would have to bear with the enormous recoil. In other words, while his opponent might not be be sent flying by his attack. He definitely would fly because of it. However, Lu Jun had developed a whole series of soul tools to complement this unique trait of his lightning cannon. He tried to maximize its potential while reducing the probability of it injuring him. This was the case at the moment. Why did he fire it down from the sky? He wanted to tap into the recoil of the lightning cannon to let him bounce back to a higher altitude. As long as he could widen the distance between Wang Qiu and himself, he believed he would succeed. Furthermore, the lightning cannon would severely injure Wang Qiu too. As long as he completed his objective, he believed that he had a chance of success. The moment he unleashed the cannon, everything before him turned white. When he saw the huge amount of electricity devouring Wang Qiu, Lu Jun did not delight in it. Instead, he became panicky. Is this too much? He knew the power of the lightning cannon. At this moment, he was slightly worried for Wang Qiu, who he had a crush on. Quickly, he froze. While his body was in an upward trajectory, the electricity underneath him had dissipated. He did not see any trace of Wang Qiu. The competition has ended. Please show mercy. The unbreakable Douluo's voice resounded throughout the arena. He was already in midair as he stared at Lu Jun's back. That was right. Wang Qiu stood there with her feet on Lu Jun's flying type soul tool, which was on his back. Her golden dragon spear was pointed straight at the back of his head. The reason she did not stab down was not because she showed mercy. Instead, because of the explosive force in that short frame of time, she first had to maintain her balance. Everything happened too fast. From Lu Jun's flight and attack to the end of the competition, it took only a few breaths. Everyone saw that Wang Qiu did only one thing: instant teleportation. She can teleport. In the waiting zone, the team from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy looked at each other. They all wore ugly expressions on their faces. Only when Lu Jun sensed the back of his head turning cold did he understand what had happened. Under the protection of the unbreakable Douluo, he descended to the arena. He saw a look of regret in Wang Qiu's eyes. Does she regret defeating me? Does she pity me? At this moment, Lu Jun did not feel depressed because of his defeat, but instead, was secretly delighted. When he saw that Wang Qiu was not in his electric light, he actually felt relieved. At least he had not used some extraordinary cruel method to defeat her. Then, he heard Wang Qiu mumble to herself. Had I known I couldn't have stabilized my body, I would have stabbed. Ms. Wang, are we enemies? Lu Jun asked in sorrow and anger. Wang Qiu showed him a cold look and said in an icy, regal tone, when I drew the lot and saw your name, we became enemies. Lu Jun walked off the arena, depressed. However, he could not help but look at Wang Qiu. He realized that he could not hate her. Why am I such a dumb idiot? He slapped himself, and then closed his eyes, vowing not to look at her. His friends thought that this was an act of self-rebuke. They all went up to console him. After all, it was not humiliating to lose to Wang Qiu. The next two competitors from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy were both mid-level class 5 soul engineers. In the face of Wang Qiu's tempest-like attacks, they were both quickly defeated. No one knew whether it was because there was no enmity between the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy and Shrek Academy, or because of Zhang Zan's rapid reactions, but the team members from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy were able to escape without serious injuries. 3 victories in a row in the individual elimination round. 3 points. The team members of the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy began to stand up. They did not plan to achieve victory in the individual elimination round. Once they reached the top 8, victory should be decided in the group round. According to the original battling style of Shrek Academy against the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, after Wang Qiu won all 3 rounds, it was time for the group round. The 6 members of Shrek Academy, all of whom were at full strength, went up to support Wang Qiu. Evidently, this tempo was decent indeed. The Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy had prepared for the group round too. This was their specialty, as well. They had trained together for many years, and had good ties with each other. They were as close as siblings. In terms of coordination and camaraderie, they surpassed the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Furthermore, they also had a killer move they could only use during the group round. Coupled with the fact that the first 3 of them were not injured too seriously, they walked up to the arena with confidence. However, they forgot something. They were not the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Next, the unbreakable Douluo Zhang Zan hollered at them. What next? The group of them, who were ready to fight, looked confused. Zhang Zan was confused too. He strode over to them and said, what are you doing? Send the next one up. The captain of the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy was a young man who was not very tall. He had a clear demeanor, and his skin was as smooth as that of a girl. He looked at Zhang Zan in confusion and asked, referee, isn't it time for the group round? Why have you not announced it? Zhang Zan's mouth twitched, and 3 black lines drooped from his forehead. What nonsense. Do you think that it's time for the group round? Since the initial elimination round, to the round-robin round, and now to the top 8, how can you not know the rules of the tournament? We've only had 3 individual elimination rounds. What group round is there to speak of? The captain of the Radiant Academy said. However, after 3 individual elimination rounds, we have the right to ask for the group round. Zhang Zan was so infuriated that he turned icy cold as he stared at them harshly and said, did you win? Did you win? Shrek did not ask for the group round. What's wrong with your brains? This. Everyone from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy suddenly discovered the core of this problem. Was this not so? Wang Qiu did not ask for the group round. The captain of the Radiant Academy looked at Wang Qiu, who was using 2 milk bottles to replenish her strength, and shouted in a rather loud voice, are you playing us? Of course, he did not know that among the 6 of his teammates who heard his words, the first thought that entered their minds was play with me, play with me. Wang Qiu was stunned too. She was confused as well. The team from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy did not incite hate in her, and hence, she was much less ferocious towards them. Furthermore, the unbreakable Douluo had been watching her closely, so she did not have the chance to use any devastating methods to decrease their overall will to battle. While she did not achieve her objective, she did not experience too much depletion in her own strength, either. Who knew that her opponent would say something like this? A cruel look appeared in Wang Qiu's eyes. She narrowed her eyes, and an icy cold aura locked itself squarely on the captain. The captain felt his body go cold. He cried out an absurd statement, don't be rash. As he said that, he tried to hide behind the unbreakable Douluo. This guy. There was amplifying equipment near the main podium, and thus everyone could hear what was said on stage. When he heard the captain's words, Prince Regent Shu Tianran's facial muscles twitched at an astounding speed. This was too humiliating. The whole master of the illustrious Virtue Hall had a solemn expression on his face. However, there was a hint of schadenfreude in his eyes. Captain, stop talking. Lu Jun, who was next to the captain, touched him. Why are you touching me? Are you trying to take advantage of me? The captain slapped him. Big sister, I'd never dare to do such a thing. Lu Jun almost cried. The other team members quickly walked off. A girl. Wang Qiu was stunned too. The captain from the Radiant Academy was just like Wang Donga, a girl in guy's clothing. I'll go. Prepare yourselves. When I win, we'll take care of them together. Lu Jun did not manage to hold her back as his captain walked onto the arena. On the arena, the captain of the Radiant Academy walked toward Wang Qiu with big steps. As she walked, she appeared to be building up her aura. Quickly, she arrived before Wang Qiu. She puffed out her chest, and then took a few steps back. Then, she said something that made Wang Qiu's killing intent break almost instantly. Why are you all so big? The captain of the Radiant Academy had an angry look on her face. She was staring right at Wang Qiu's chest. The captain was almost a whole head shorter than Wang Qiu. Wang Qiu's chest was at the level of her eyes. This was the first time Wang Qiu's expression had changed since the start of the competition. As her opponent's question was too sudden and random, she blushed instantly. Both she and Wang Donga had the same, divinely beautiful face. Now that her face turned red, she looked as gorgeous as a peony. Do you want to die? Wang Qiu swung her golden dragon spear out instantly. While the captain of the Radiant City Academy might be a girl, she behaved like a hooligan. However, while this captain might seem overboard, her reaction was not slow. She leapt back and dodged her spear. She did not retaliate, but instead turned to the unbreakable Douluo and said, referee, she attacked me before the competition started. Who dares to say she's dumb? At this crucial moment, she was smarter than anyone else. Zhang Zan instantly appeared between the two of them. He looked at Wang Qiu and said seriously, I'll warn you once. If you break the rules again, I'll disqualify you. The captain of the Radiant Academy team smiled gleefully. However, Zhang Zan quickly turned to her and said seriously, what's your words? You're representing Radiant City. If you offend your opponent with your words once more, I'll disqualify you too. The captain of the Radiant Academy team's mouth twitched as she said, I'm only stating a fact. Let's start. Just let me beat her. Report your name. names, said Zhang Zan with an ugly expression. Shrek, Wang Qiuer, Radiant Academy, Shu Tianchen. When she heard this name, Wang Qiuer could not help but stifle a smile. She almost laughed. This person is really as her name goes. She's so dumb and Tianchen, naive. Both sides. Step back. Zhang Zan shouted out. I'm awesome. You're finished. Shu Tianchen waved her not so big fist at Wang Qiuer. Only then did she turn to walk to the edge of the arena. Wang Qiuer completely ignored Shu Tianchen. She gripped her golden dragon spear and walked to her own side. That short intermission had helped her regain much of her soul power. Wang Qiuer's fighting style was unlike that of most soul masters. She battled with her as the center of it all. To be precise, she fought with an unprecedented will and an indomitable spirit. She used her innate potential. The stronger her opponent, the more she could tap into her potential, and the stronger she would become. This was why she was terrifying. She always looked down on her opponent. This was her plan. Her arrogance came from her bones. Begin. Swoosh. An ear-splitting sound, as if space itself was being split apart, could be heard. The golden dragon spear zoomed toward Shu Tianchen, who was about 100 meters away, like a bolt of electricity. This was her most powerful response to what Shu Tianchen had said. However, Shu Tianchen, who was in combat mode, changed too. She placed her hands together in front of her face, raised her arms, and while interlocking her fingers, made a motion as if she were lifting the very sky. Her not very big chest appeared bigger because of his motion too. A piercing ray of red light shot out from her body. In the center of her skyward palms, a reddish-orange ball of light appeared. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 2 black soul rings, the perfect combination, rose from underneath her feet. Her third soul ring instantly started to shine. A ray of reddish-orange light shot out and struck the lightning like golden dragon spear. Boom. A huge explosion went off. Struck by the reddish-orange light, the gold light around the golden dragon spear started to fade, and its speed slowed significantly. However, it continued on its way toward its target. The first soul ring around Shu Tianchen started to shine too. A reddish-orange halo appeared underneath her feet, and the ray of reddish-orange light above her head started to sink down into the ground. Then, her body suddenly disappeared. When she reappeared, she was standing where the earlier ray of light had shone. Like this, she was able to dodge the golden dragon spear, appearing behind it. Wang Qiuer took a step forward as she stomped on the ground. Her entire body rose up into the air as she charged toward Shu Tianchen. After she dodged the golden dragon spear, the light in Shu Tianchen's eyes became extremely clear. From her palms, 10,000 rays of light shot into the reddish-orange ball of light in the air, turning the entire arena into a bright, golden-red world. Wang Qiuer suddenly felt disoriented. Under the powerful light, she lost her target. Below the arena, He suddenly opened his mouth and said, "This is a descendant of the Sun Moon, the possessor of the sun. The captain of the Radiant Academy is from the main branch of the Sun Moon Empire's imperial family. Hey! Hey!" The stage was covered in golden red light. One could barely see clearly. Everyone from the Tang Sect looked at him simultaneously in shock. He felt out of place. He turned to see if anyone else was looking at him before saying in a low voice, "Members of the imperial family of the Sun Moon Empire have a powerful type of martial soul. This was one of the reasons why they could ascend the throne. The Sun martial soul is possessed only by the direct descendants of this bloodline. The power of the Sun is extremely strong and intense. It is the top fire-type martial soul. While it isn't an ultimate strength martial soul, it's not too far off. Furthermore, it can tap into the power of the Sun to strengthen the owner. Compared to Ella's sister's moon, it is superior." Evidently, just as He was doing his analysis, everyone else noticed that as the reddish gold light on the arena grew stronger, the light from the sun around became weaker. Only the light that shone down on the arena seemed stronger. This created an odd spectacle. It was as if a light pillar about 100 meters wide had descended from the sky and landed on the arena. She used her third soul skill first, divine sunlight. Then, she used her first soul skill, inverse sun. At the same time, she should have used her fifth soul skill, lofty light rays. Wang Qiuer is up against a strong foe. Up on the arena, Wang Qiuer, who was in the middle of it all, could feel it best. As the entire arena was bathed in the powerful reddish gold light, she knew her vision was affected. All she could see before her was a patch of gold. She couldn't even sense Shu Tianchen's location. Furthermore, the temperature of the arena rose continually because of this golden red light. It was like lava from the early days of the earth. The heat was roasting her body. At this moment, what shocked Wang Qiuer was the fact that she was not thinking about how she should subdue her enemy. Instead, she wished she had Huo Yuao's ultimate ice armor on her. With that, she would not need to fear the heat of the sun. Wang Qiuer waved her right hand and instantly retrieved her golden dragon spear. She stood in her original position and closed her eyes. Golden scales soon enveloped her entire body. A golden dragon swirled around her protectively, and a layer of golden fog soon rose from her body. Like a statue, she stood in the center of the arena without moving. When he saw the vast amount of gold and red, Huo Yuao could not help but frown. At this time, he couldn't help Wang Qiuer anymore. Unlike last time, he hadn't hidden himself in advance. Furthermore, he did not think that Wang Qiuer would admit defeat. Most importantly, he had a match in the afternoon too. If he overexerted himself, what could he do for the Tang Sect later? While he could forcibly use spiritual detection to penetrate the protective barrier and help Wang Qiuer, he did not know how draining it would be. Hence, he hesitated. Faced with Wang Qiuer's inaction, Shu Tianchen was perplexed. Of course, she could sense Wang Qiuer's location, but she did not dare to act without caution. Wang Qiuer stood there like a statue, but she was also like a volcano that could blow up at any moment. Once she did, she would strike with devastating force. Frankly speaking, Shu Tianchen was an anomaly in Radiant City. Her unique aspect lay in the fact that she was actually a soul master, not a soul engineer. After all, how could someone like her, who possessed the powerful sun martial soul, not cultivate? With this option available, no one would willingly be a soul engineer. Shu Tianchen had entered the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy as a special exception. While she knew how to use soul tools, she preferred to use her martial soul. Shu Tianchen did not move easily. On the arena, everything seemed to have been silenced by the reddish gold light. Why was Shu Tianchen not in a rush? Her lofty light rays was a powerful domain type attack. This attack not only burned its target by increasing the temperature, but it actually also harnessed the power of the sun in the sky. As time passed, it would absorb even more power from the sun. Not only could it raise the temperature in her domain, but she could also accumulate enough of it to attack explosively. The power from it would be devastating. Hence, she was likewise in no rush. The person who was truly caught in a rut was the referee, the unbreakable Douluo Zhang Zan. As the referee, he had to observe the two sides as they fought in the arena. At the right moment, he had to declare the competition to be over and announce a winner. Normally, he would not be struck by any attacks himself. However, faced with this domain type soul skill, there was nowhere he could run. While the lofty light rays were not actually lofty, they were still relatively tall. At that height, how could he judge what was going on down there? Furthermore, he couldn't forcibly resist the suppression from the domain type soul skill. If not, Shu Tianchen would be affected. Helpless, this powerful class 9 soul engineer could only bear the effects of the domain type attack. With his astounding gold evasion, he would not be injured, but it was not a good feeling to be roasted alive, either. Everyone, both on the arena and off it, was tense. The team from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy stood up to watch the round. They knew that if Shu Tianchen lost, they would truly be finished. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.